But I want to play you Stephen A. Smith talking with Bill Maher and these guys talking about Donald Trump and whether Donald Trump is a racist or not, and get your reaction. This is about a 3-minute clip. Let's play it.
All right, so here's the thing.
Right.
So there are all these, white boys are talking to me about Trump, and he's a terrible racist. And it's like, well, how could the black people vote for him more than each time? And they didn't vote for him a lot more, but men did.
Right, men did.
Okay, and I said, you know what? I don't want to speak for all black people, and this is where I need to tell you.
Sure.
You tell me if I was wrong or right.
Okay.
I said, you know what I think black people think about Trump? Like, is he a racist? Yeah, but they think every white person is kind of a racist. And do they think that white people behind closed doors talk like Trump? Yeah, he's just a crazy person.
That last part right there. It's not that. It's not
he
that.
just says it out loud
as black people. I don't want to speak for all black people, whatever.
No,
obviously
because they're not all alike.
That's right, all. Exactly. But I will say this to you, as being a black man, you don't look at white people and automatically think they're racist. You automatically know they're different than you, that they think different than you, that they come from a different cultural background and experience things differently than they do.
Right.
So that second part is very, very important, because when you talk about how Trump talks,
right,
we're going like this. So that's the first time he talked like that, when he became president. Who you playing with? We know better than that. We know better than that. We know that ain't the first time, and we know that the people that he was friends with all of these years, he talked just like that around y'all, and y'all didn't have no problem with it. Don't act like you have a problem
and
now.
Also had some genuine black friends and black folks who like him.
Well, let me tell you this. I don't know if I told you this.
Because it's complicated.
I don't know if
Life
I told you
is
this.
complicated.
I wouldn't call myself his friend by any stretch of the imagination back in the day.
Right.
But I've told this on many occasions. I said this in my recent appearance on The View and stuff like that. Trump and I were friendly.
Right.
Before he ran for president. He used to have these boxing matches, particularly during the Tyson fights at the Trump casinos. He would be at the Knicks games and stuff like that. And if we're being totally honest, all the brothers found him to be cool.
Right.
They found him to be very cool. So let's be clear, because he knew his sports, all right? He would say what he feel.
Right.
He bucked the establishment, which we loved. And we gravitated to that, and obviously he was a billionaire.
Also, he was a certain age,
and it was cool.
Get a certain
it was cool.
understanding that white men of that age,
right?
They're going to be a little grandpa. We don't say that anymore.
No,
but
wasn't him.
Is he really in his heart hateful? No, I think
I've never.
I don't think his motivation is I don't like black people. I think his motivation is everybody must love me.
Thank you. And that's why, that's right there, what you just said, everybody must love me.
It's his narcissism. It's not his racism.
I have never called him a racist. I have never spoken about him that way, ever. Not one time, because I knew him beforehand.
So, Steve, here's my problem with that conversation, because it's not authentic, it's not honest, it's not transparent. I've never heard Trump say one thing that I haven't heard black people say themselves about black people or anybody else. This whole deal that, hey, as black people, we look and see white people and say, we know they're different than us. We know they think different than us. That's not my thought. For me, as a faith-based person, I don't think that, white people think differently than I do. It's just, they're trying to be complimentary of Trump while still trying to argue, yeah, he's racist, but he's racist in an acceptable way. I don't like the conversation.
Jason, I believe both of these guys are incredibly inauthentic as it relates to number 47, because they can say what they want. They campaigned against him. They tried to use their influence to get the other candidate, who shall not be named, the cackling one, elected. It failed, and it was a repudiation.
Let's be honest. The insurance model is broken. CrowdHealth puts your health care back in your hands. Use the promo code FEARLESS at joincrowdhealth.com. That's joincrowdhealth.com, promo code FEARLESS. All right, hey,
That
let's
actually-
reconnect with Steve. Oh, Steve, we're going to reconnect and try to improve your connection. Just give us about 60 seconds. Hang up with Steve. Me and Butter can stay. I'm just, this whole notion that Stephen A. can say, well, I look at white people and I know they're different than us. You don't have that liberty. If you were to say, well, I look at black people and say they're different than us, you'd be called a racist.
Yeah, I find these conversations they don't take you anywhere. They both had a real hard angle at Trump. Stephen A. on ESPN for years, he said, I don't speak for black people. One of my reasons I moved away from ESPN was because he talked about how his community, his people, he constantly separated himself. I find these conversations funny because it's in the aftermath of a huge Trump win. They're grasping at things. They're flopping all around like a fish in a boat, trying to find something stable to stand on. And I kind of love watching it. I do think you're right. This is an Iger, this is an ESPN, this is a repositioning, a rebranding of Stephen A. Smith happening right before our eyes.
Yeah, where he's trying to pretend like, yeah, I kind of like Trump. Yeah, I kind of dislike Trump. I'm right there in the middle. And we're in an era, and this is where Stephen A. is reading the tea leaves wrong. We're at a time where men are finally taking, and women, strong stances. And these people that think, well, I'm gonna both sides it, and I'm gonna be the guy in the middle. I see truth on both sides. We're actually in an era where it's in vogue and it's being rewarded for like, nah, that's some BS. This is the truth. And that's what Trump's appeal has been, is whether you like him or not, he actually tells you what he thinks. And the truth is very polarizing. It just, a lot of people just don't like it. But this whole, this inference that black people are sitting around like, and haven't said really things that would be considered. If a white person said what black people at the Masterpiece Lounge, that's my father's bar where I grew up and it was all black folks. If white people said the stuff that we used to say inside the Masterpiece Lounge, it was like, man, this sounds like a KKK rally. And
that y'all would say about white people?
About black people.
About black people.
The conversation was worse about black people because here's what white people have the liberty. I'm not sure it's the right thing to do, but what white people do is say, hey man, I don't want to be bothered with that white trash. Y'all say that and no one bats an eye, and y'all differentiate and say, man, that's some white trash, I don't want nothing to do with it. Black people do the same thing. Man, that's some N-word, S-H-I-T, I don't want to be bothered with it, blah, blah, they need to do better, blah, 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 blah. That's just people. If you have a ghetto mentality, if you have a bunch of values that do not lead to success and make a neighborhood less safe, and what makes a neighborhood less safe is single parenthood, divorced families. That's just a fact. It doesn't matter what color you are. If you have a destructed nuclear family and the neighborhood is overrun with single parents, whether it be mamas or single daddies, but particularly single mamas, people don't want to be associated with that. And my parents divorced. I was in a home with me and my brother led by a woman. Father was involved with our life all the way throughout. But that is not ideal. And neighborhood, you go to any zip code that's got a high single motherhood rate, and trust me, you got a high crime rate. Period, end of story. People don't like it. And there's a particular demographic, my demographic, skin color wise, that has a high divorce rate, a high single parent rate. The neighborhoods aren't safe. It's not the skin color, it's the values, it's the culture, it's the lack of the nuclear family. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a moment of Fearless.